So we're going to talk about a tier list. This is going to be very interesting, very raw. If you do like these sort of stuff, let me know. We're going to go from best hold to worst hold, or why bother, to must have sort of vibe, right? Basically, my opinion, people ask me for my thoughts on coins all the time. I have given you the opportunity to give me your coins for me to critique, essentially, and we're going to have a bit of fun with it. A lot of these I've never covered before. A lot of these are stuff that I've not covered on the previous tier list, but I will be ranking them based off simple logic, as in tokenomics, use case, ultimately, you know, risk to reward. You get the idea? Anyways, let's get into it. Must have at the top, why bother at the bottom? I know there should be the other way around in terms of colour, but hey. First one we'll look at is compound. Compound is really interesting. Where am I at? We'll have a little look at compound first because it's easy. Not a fan. And if you're in my Patreon, you'll know this. I hate to answer questions. What are my thoughts on coins? For me, just don't see the vibe. Do not see the vibe with this. It is old school. It has been around for a little bit, but it's a generation 1 staking platform. Derivative tokens and liquid staking are much better for this, in my opinion. But some people do hold it. Some people want their opinion. And yeah, it might do okay in terms of like, yeah, potential risk to reward, but I don't see it going there again, personally. That was just because there was nothing really out there. And it was obviously crazy. We were getting a lot of return of investment on our stable currencies back then. Look what happened. Luna crashed. You get the idea? So for me, why bother? Personally, Astar goes right up here. Not into a must-have. I don't think anything will become a must-have in this list, in my opinion. But that's probably the closest we're going to get. I'm also going to rank them in terms of importance, by the way. So the closest to here is the better they are, if that makes sense. So when we talk about Astar, it's been around for about a year and a bit now. It's got negative press due to the fact that it is a parachain and a crowd loan. That all crowd loans did shit. Let's be honest, they did. I've openly talked about that. It gets a decent amount of volume. It's doing okay. It's probably the best parachain out there. It's probably got the best website as well, because I really like the website. I think it's really pretty. I like it. And moving on. So you can see here, unlocks a blockchain, enabling unparalleled cross-layer scaling. Good there. But it has got some partnerships with, you can see Polygon Labs. You can see it's got Sony and stuff like that. Really, really good. Again, you've got the competition between Glimmer and Astar. Astar's ultimately winning, but there is more network use on Glimmer at the moment, which is interesting. That might all change. Who knows? But I do like it a lot. It's kind of an obvious pick, really. Let's be honest. KSM. See ya. Yeah, I don't see the point of it. Be honest with you, I just don't see the point of it. To me, KSM does not need a token. That's my opinion. It needs to be a thing. It needs to have testnet. It needs to test as a blockchain to make sure things go right. So recently, the new test is coming out onto, I think, Beefy and all that kind of new stuff's getting rolled out onto it. Cool. We need to see if it works, obviously. Problem is, that's it. Like, why does it need to be a token? Because over time, Polkadot's going to get bigger, 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 better, and all that kind of stuff, and people are just going to gravitate away from this. Also, the treasury is a problem with this. It's depleted, gone. They ruined it, and this is why I'm whinging about the Polkadot treasury, which is a little bit better, but you see what happened. So yeah, for me, why bother? Personal opinion. Sorry. I like it, don't get me wrong. I like it. But there's only 58% of the supply out. It's been out for a decent-ish chunk. It has had a cycle. And yes, it could do some nice moves. But it has already had a decent move already. So the risk to reward is not really there. Problem you got with, will this, personal opinion or question, whatever you want to know it as, feel free to let me know in the comments. Will this translate over to the world of normal people? Basically, will it become the like of the Dropbox, etc.? There's all kinds of stuff regarding this in terms of the decentralized cloud. It's quite a good, interesting point. But are we too early for it? I don't know. So it's an interesting one. We've often found, and I talked about this on my Patreon not too long ago, is sometimes you get things that look really awesome on paper, but they ultimately don't really translate into like people in normal worlds utilizing and using them. You can't get huge value just on the crypto space alone. You've got to kind of branch out. Enterprises and all of this kind of stuff has to adopt it. This is the unproven part. So for me, I would put it an average for now. It might change though, obviously, as partnerships develop. Another one like that is Energy Web. This is what it is. Energy Web token is empowering decarbonization solutions. Now, we are miles away from carbon zero. I don't think, my personal belief here, I know this is going to be critical, but I can't see why the corporate elites who own a lot of power in those industries are going to go into the world of crypto and utilize this unless a massive amount of enterprises kind of, adopt this sort of technology. Huge. But until then, we've got to get to that point, and it's been around for a while, and we've only just got a parachain just coming out on it. Feels like it's a very, very slow burner. Pardon the pun. I didn't even need it. But you get the idea. Like, maybe in 5 to 10 years, this might be a massive thing. But right now, it's like, well, it's not really done much. And it's kind of like, well, you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, 65 million markup could be a very, very good thing. But it's risky because there's no real obvious plan of adoption there yet. But obviously, if you're an investor, you've got to believe in something. So maybe this could be an interesting one where, for me, it's an average or meh. But I think the meh part becomes too early, if that makes sense. But you're kind of speculating. You're kind of like hoping that things adopt it and it does very, very well. It's 65 million markup coin. There's probably a reason for that at the minute, at least. Anyways, moving on to Harmony 1. This one was pretty popular in my Twitter when I was asking questions. This has gone backwards more than you think. Kind of scary. This was a rival to Zilliqa at one point, right? And as you know, I was an investor in Zilliqa until they blocked me on Twitter, little wankers. But you get the idea. Now, with this, just look at the website. I'm pretty sure this is the website. Unless like they've got a new website and they've not told anyone. They're using a Notion website. And I'm like, what have they done? Why have they done this? Why? Oh, you broke it. Like, for me, it reads well as what it wants to do, but it's been slaughtered by everything else, like literally. So many blockchains are so much better than this now. It's like, So, yeah, personal opinion, don't really see it that good, to be fair. Kilt. This could actually be a good hold. Let me explain. This is a risky one, though. Be mindful. It's got small volume. It's a low market capitalization coin. It is a crowd loan parachain, which we know have done shit. All of them. Every single one of them. Now, when we talk about this, it's just, as you can see. But when you scratch below the surface, it is a digital identity, decentralized, secure, scalable. It provides a practical identity solution for enterprise and consumers. This bit is huge. If Polkadot gets adopted by more enterprises utilizing the software, huge. Also, you've got a very, very big accountancy firm that use it. You've probably heard of them. Now, they've also, I think the German government use it and stuff like that as well. Yeah, there's a lot of things here that could be very, very interesting, but has it transpired into the world of crypto yet? How deep are we going to go with this? The digital identity, your data being sold and all that kind of malarkey. We need to stop all that. Digital identity could be massive in terms of encryption as well. So when I look at this and I think to myself, well, what can it do? It's probably a good hold because it is low market cap. It is unproven technology though, but the risk to reward of that, and obviously the partners and potentially if Polkadot as well, that might do all right too, realistically. Luxo, let me have a little look at this. Let me just remove some tabs because it's going a bit crazy. Luxo. Better token handle. Problem is, I do like this. I have liked it in the past. I have openly said if I was to buy anything in the world of NFTs or digital kind of elements, this would be closest thing I'd buy. But the thing is, I've kind of changed direction a little bit in terms of the future of the digital lifestyle ecosystems, offering creators and users a space to innovate. And it's kind of changed where it's going. And that's the thing that's put me off it a little bit. So yeah, and the website is not great. Let's be honest. Sorry. Yeah, I'll put that as average for now. There is a use case for it, but I just think they've gone a bit too far one way with it, which is kind of interesting. Metis. Talked about this not too long ago as an interesting undervalued asset. I do want it to come back down and crash to earth because it's a potential hold. And this might be the only one that actually gets into a certain category. Metis has potential to grow pretty well versus the market, as in other ones in this ecosystem, OP, ARB, etc. Right? It's doing all right, doing very, very well. The meme coin season's kind of kicked off on it. I've did a whole video on Metis recently. I think in terms of risk to reward, all that kind of stuff, it's only 381 million market cap in terms of market cap right now. Volume's not too bad considering the size of it. Ranked 132. It has popped off a little bit. If this does go lower, the risk to reward will just make it more of an interesting buy, potentially. But look at where it could go. This probably could become like $1,000 coin without really scratching much of the surface of what it can do, considering where it is in terms of the market capitalization. If you can do some quick maths there, you'll probably figure out why. I'm going to plonk it up here. Probably the only one maybe of this entire video that might actually hit there. Spoiler alert, potentially. Who knows? I might unearth something. Mina. An interesting recommendation. My Patreon gets a lot of recommendations for this, for technical analysis and stuff. Or used to, until I banned the technical analysis requests because I was getting the same ones every week and it was doing my head in. But you get the idea. 1 billion market cap. Most of its supply is out, which is good to see. It has a really good use case in terms of size. It is a privacy-enabled blockchain security layer with zero knowledge proofs, which is huge, right? It's the world's lightest. It has something unique, which is good. For cost, for energy consumption, for enterprise and adopting it, probably one of the better ones to look at. But it doesn't have some things that other blockchains obviously have, which kind of makes a point of it. Now, when we talk about this, it's all right. I don't see any issues with this at all. And I'd probably plonk that in good hold, in all fairness. The only downside is probably obviously the size of it right now. It's one of the leading-ish ones. It's in the top 60, which is pretty big considering in the market. So may not do massive amount of gains for you, but it may well do very, very well. Moonriver. Meh. Now, don't like to create drama, but Moonriver had very, very favourable, Moonbeam, wrong one, Moonriver, there we go, had very favourable tokenomics when it launched in the hype. What made this become a household name in the KSM ecosystem for parachains was two things: timing and treasury. A lot of the treasury was used to pump this a little bit. A lot of the people marketing this kind of got a lot of rewards from it. And obviously how the tokens were unlocked in its correct format. It was a bit different to obviously the Polkadot ones. But this is also why it's crashed so hard and stayed down forever. This is the sort of thing I probably wouldn't want to look at in terms of potential buying. I would rather just buy Moonbeam, in all fairness. It is also community-led, so it's a little bit different. But the volume really has tailed off quite a lot, quite drastically, considering what it's listed on. It's on like literally all the top exchanges. Yeah, it's one of those. When you look at this as well, it doesn't even have a main website. It's actually just leeching on to the Moonbeam website. And it's the same website from 4 years ago. So there's nothing really that's like kind of making me go, well, I want to buy this. So yeah, it kind of sits quite easily in meh. Might be worth some reward risk, as in if you've got some tokens that you're staking, you want to do a bit of a risky bid, and that's kind of a proven obvious one, maybe go for it. But it's one of those. Now, this is a one that I have zero. Why do I sound Dutch? I don't know. Information on. I'm going dark and stabby here in terms of like I'm stabbing in the dark because I don't really know. I really like AI. Not as much as some people do, but I like the idea of what it does. It makes my life easier as a content creator. I can do certain things. Now, as you can see, this is a mental website. It looks like a meme coin with all the kind of how it looks and the just the way it looks. It just looks like a meme coin, doesn't it? But it's got a lot of information for you to throw your stick at. A lot of users, a lot of members, a lot of active groups. It's getting used, right? This is important. Adoption, utilization, people using it. Talked about previous kind of ones before and will it get adopted? This is a one that probably can because it's AI, right? Hype in AI is pretty big. Now, when we talk about this, it's already been out, 6, 7, 8 months. It's only on a couple of exchanges and not any big ones. But there's a huge risk to reward here. Total supply, interesting, but it's almost out. Volume is relatively low, but that's probably due to the exchanges. But it has, as you can see here, done very well recently. This literally was nothing not too long ago. Now look at it. It's probably why people are asking about it. Some people, some influencers have done incredibly well on this. But for me, I think it's probably one of those ones where you're probably just going to plonk it in average because there's going to be so much more coming out for the AI world. Already is anyways, to be honest with you. That could also eclipse this massively. So you've got to be somewhat careful. Next one, and a little, there it is, little bit of an oracle. Hello. Now, I've talked about this on my YouTube channel not so long ago in terms of, a potential good long-term bet if you want to talk about it in terms of like obvious markets, as in oracles. Let's look at the most obvious price thing in the world, Chainlink. Can this do well? Now, I do like this. I like the price feeds. I think their UI is pretty neat and tidy. And this is all like, I would happily have this on the Learning Crypto website. I'll be honest with you. I think it's neat and tidy. How will it work as an ecosystem? Will it work in terms of like a coin? That is the big thing. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like one of those ones where you got to ask yourself the question with a lot of investments in crypto, especially in altcoins, and this is very, very controversial as an opinion. Do you need a coin? Some things don't need coins. Literally, they don't need coins at all. This kind of edges on that in terms of what does it do, how does it work. But you could have said the same for Chainlink a couple of years ago. Chainlink, back before all the new stuff came out, didn't really need a coin, let's be honest. But this is similar sort of vibe. The thing is, data in the finance world is getting more pricey. It's getting probably too pricey, over competitive. And you got to look at the obvious. Well, if they can adopt this on multiple blockchains, utilizing their own token and be a smarter, choice for people, it probably does need a coin, which could be huge. So when we look at this in terms of how the fees work, yes, you will find, in my opinion, copycats of oracles that are just leveraging centralized systems, having a coin, and they don't need it. This luckily doesn't, which is fine. Problem is, you're probably going to find some that do. This works on multiple chains, as you can see. And I like it. I would love to have this on my website, but I don't know how to do it. But yeah, pretty decent. In terms of everything else with it, market capitalization, yeah. The big downside to this is obviously how much circulating supply. There's probably going to be a lot getting milked out of the market with probably VCs and stuff. So that's probably going to downgrade it quite a lot. Probably plonk it in average, in my opinion. But could well do okay. RDX, this is another one that I don't really do much. Wow, is it RDX? No, it's not. What is it called? That's it. Radix XRD. Yeah, I knew what I meant. I'm dyslexic. Do you know? 4 million volume, relatively lowish on the market capitalization scale. A lot of the circulating supply is out. When did this come out? Oh, it came out of a bit of a bad time, right at the market top, boom, and then it died, obviously. It's not on, it's a couple of ishy exchanges, not some great ones, but you get the idea. Again, apologies for the rawness, but I don't really know much about it. Interesting. Wallet looks nice though. But yeah, I don't know much about this one. It has been requested a few times on my tweet, which is why I'm looking at it really. If you're looking at market kind of timing, kind of fits the Patreon blueprint of like buying something where it came out at like a really shitty time, as in right at the start of the cycle where it's gone mental and there's no development, or right towards the end. This is obviously towards the end, and obviously it's just bled out. So that could be a lot of risk to reward there. Downside to it, obviously, with a coin like this, you just don't know where it's going to go because of this. It's like, will it do an all-time high? If it does, you're laughing. But you can see, look at how much it's kind of down. 75%, not too bad. Probably put in average. Feta, or whatever you want to call it. This one's been around for a while. This is on mainnet 55, I think, by now, because it keeps doing updates. Ridiculous. Had a really good cycle, and I don't think it's ever going to eclipse that. Sorry if you're a hold and you want to make your money back, but I think with COVID, with how things were going back then, I cannot see this doing that run. I just can't. They've also changed a lot of their things, what they do. With this, it's not as good as what I used to use the actual, what do you call it, the streaming platform for a bit. It was all right, to be fair, but it's just not the same thing now. So yeah, I don't know. This one's an interesting one. T-Fuel is an interesting point of it as well. If I'll be honest with you, I'll probably put this in meh. As much as there's risk reward there, I can't see it kind of rivaling or utilized on the likes of YouTube, obviously all the platforms that you see now in terms of the market. It's interesting to see how far the video content world has come. That really has to eclipse it, but might struggle. Second to last, we have Woo Network. Woo! I don't mind it. Now, I've been asked by a couple of people to join this. Woo, if you don't know what this is, by the way, it's a decentralized platform. I'm in the UK, you probably know that. Big problem right now is we cannot get on exchanges. It's a bit cack. And this is one of the ones that you probably could quite happily, easily use because it's decentralized in some way. Problem you got with it, not many people use it, in my opinion. I think that is kind of like, you can probably tell. The volume of it isn't great. Liquidity problems, but again, as people get weaned off the centralized exchanges, Woo could be a massive competitor. Could do very well. We all know that exchanges in the bull market do very well too. This has got a narrative. It's decentralized. It's probably the best decentralized exchange out there in terms of like utilization of it. Obviously, you've got decent markets. You can do market and limit orders on this, which is obviously huge. I'll show you the platform. Why not while we're here? It looks pretty nice, neat, tidy, easy to use by the looks of it. And yeah, it is decentralized. It's pretty cool, right? So yeah, I'm going to plonk that in a good hold because my personal belief is when the circus comes back, things are going to get interesting, right? Very, very interesting. You've got to remember that. What will people want to use? Something good. That is probably going to fit that kind of mold. Also, you got to look at the risk to reward here, right? When we talk about that, a decent chunk of the supply is already out. It was, what, $1.50, 37 cents right now. And this was like, as you can see here, yeah, but I remember when Woo was kind of taken off, it didn't have that many pairs versus now. There's a lot more choice now. That could be a massive, massive, massive factor. Finally, not covered Zill in a while. Let's have a little look at it. Now, the reason why I sold my Zill was for two reasons. One, I made a lot of money because I bought very, very early. And I was very, very happy with my purchase. This was basically the blueprint model. Buying an asset that came out at a really bad time and it saw no sunlight, but it had a really good use case. At the time, it was a sharding blockchain, the first of its kind. Now, I have no idea what it does. It's kind of had some really mental spike. This was like a metaverse event, crazy thing. Oh, actually, this was a metaverse one. Crazy, right? But what they've been doing over the course of time is actually just changing the way they do things. They got rid of all the team like 3 times, rehired a load of people. It didn't go as well. Obviously, the staking, there's not much in terms of the staking rewards nowadays. It's not as good as what it used to be. I prefer the old school kind of style of it, personally, that's my opinion of it. But also the social media team blocked me, which is really irritating. I always said on my Twitter, if it goes down to if it goes down to 1 cent, I'll rebuy what I bought back in the day. But I don't think it's going to go that far. If I was to buy it, or if I'll give you an opinion, I'll probably put meh. too many blockchains, too many good things. It's lost that edge, in my opinion, whereas when it first came out in 2018, it literally was the first sharding blockchain of its kind, right? The first. Huge. Now it's kind of like, well, what does it do? So there you go. We are done. It is a raw video. If you do like these, let me know. These are what people have requested on my Twitter. Feel free to follow me. I will be doing more of these, but as you can see, there's only one that's really a must-have. Some good holds there, some average ones, some are like, meh, and then why bother? But these are obviously my opinion. As I said at the start of the video, if the ones at why bother do a moon run, don't give me a shit for it. It's my opinion. I'm just a mere mortal. If the must-have goes to 0, well, you should be doing your research anyways, because I'll show up now.